The smoke detector started chirping at exactly the same interval as my heartbeat. And no matter how many times I pressed the silence button, it waited until my chest relaxed before screaming again. I was already late. That was the only reason I didn't stop to rip it from the ceiling. I grabbed my jacket, counted the steps to the door like I always did, 13, and flinched when the chirp cut in again, perfectly timed between my breaths. The sound followed me into the hallway, muffled but precise, like it was still inside my skull. I told myself it was coincidence. Everything starts as coincidence. I work night intake at a municipal records annex, the kind of place nobody knows exists until they need a stamped copy of something old and unpleasant. Death certificates, zoning disputes, archived complaints. The building is a concrete rectangle wedged between a recycling plant and a shuttered DMV, lit by buzzing fluorescents that never quite turn off. It's quiet in a way that presses on your ears. I like it because nothing ever happens. That night, something did. The first sign was the badge reader. I swiped my card and waited for the green light. It stayed red. I swiped again. Red. On the third try, it beeped. Not the denial tone, but the confirmation. And the door didn't unlock. Instead, the overhead lights flickered in a slow, deliberate wave, like a breath moving through the ceiling. I stood there with my card still against the reader, listening to the smoke detector chirp echo faintly from my memory, and felt the building register me. Not recognize. Register. When the door finally opened, it did so silently, without the usual hydraulic hiss. The lobby smelled wrong. Not bad, just off, like paper that had been warmed too long by a light bulb. "Hello?" I called out of habit. My voice came back thinner than it should have. The front desk computer was already on. That was unusual. The system auto-logged out after 8 hours. The screen glowed with a login prompt I didn't recognize. Instead of a username field, there was a single box labeled interval. A cursor blinked inside it, once every second, perfectly. I didn't touch it. I set my bag down, clocked in manually, and told myself IT would handle it in the morning. That's what you do with small problems. You push them forward and trust they'll dissolve. They don't. By midnight, I'd processed 3 walk-ins and a courier drop. Everything normal. Too normal. The building's usual background noises, the distant hum of ventilation, the soft tick of the wall clock, had synchronized. Not exactly, but close enough that I noticed when one slipped. When the vent paused for half a second longer than the clock ticked, my stomach tightened. I started counting again. I hadn't done that since I was a kid. Counting gives you something solid to hold when the world gets slippery. At 12:47, the phone rang. No one calls after 10. The number on the display was blank. I let it ring 3 times before picking up. "Records Annex," I said. There was no voice, just breathing. Slow, measured. I held the receiver away from my ear and watched the second hand on the clock. When it reached 12, the breathing stopped. When it moved again, the line went dead. I logged the call anyway. Time, duration, unknown caller. My hand shook as I typed. The keys felt softer than usual, like they were absorbing the pressure instead of resisting it. At 1:12, a new file appeared in the intake queue. It wasn't attached to any request, no sender, no metadata, just a file name, interval 001. I clicked it. The document was a transcript, no header, no footer, just lines of text with timestamps. At first glance, it looked like a call log or an interview record. Then I read the first line. 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second. Subject becomes aware of discrepancy between expected and observed rhythm. My mouth went dry. The next lines describe sensations I was currently having. The faint pressure behind the eyes, the awareness of breathing becoming deliberate, the impulse to count. 0 hours, 3 minutes, 14 seconds. Subject attempts rationalization. Coincidence hypothesis initiated. I scrolled. 0 hours, 7 minutes, 42 seconds. Subject exhibits mild tachycardia. Auditory stimulus aligns with cardiac cycle. I slapped the file closed. The screen went black for a fraction of a second longer than normal before returning to the desktop. My reflection stared back at me, pale and slightly delayed. I checked the timestamp on the file. It had been created at 1:11, 1 minute before it appeared. I did what anyone would do. I tried to leave. The exit door didn't open. The badge reader didn't light up at all this time. I pressed the manual release. Nothing. I laughed. It came out wrong. Too loud, too sharp. "Okay," I said to the empty lobby. "Okay." I pulled out my phone. No signal. The time read 1:13, then flickered to 1:12, then settled back to 1:13. The seconds ticked forward normally. I focused on that. Forward was good. The smoke detector chirped. Not in my apartment. Here, above the intake desk. I looked up slowly. The unit was mounted where the sprinkler head should have been. I was sure it hadn't been there before. The LED blinked in time with my pulse. I backed away until I hit the counter. My heel caught on something. I looked down. Another file envelope lay on the floor, blank except for a printed label. Interval 002. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The building was no longer quiet. It was listening. Every movement I made had an echo, not sound, but response. When I shifted my weight, the lights dimmed imperceptibly. When I held my breath, the vent stuttered. The clock ticked on, indifferent. But I had the sense it was waiting for something else to catch up. I realized then that the transcript hadn't been written after the fact. It was being written alongside me, slightly ahead. The thought didn't make sense, but it fit. That was worse. I went back to the desk and sat down, forcing myself to breathe normally. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The smoke detector chirped when I failed. The computer screen flickered and the interval prompt returned. The cursor blinked. I hovered my fingers over the keyboard. "What do you want?" I asked. The lights dimmed. The cursor blinked twice in quick succession, then resumed its steady rhythm. I typed, "What is this?" The text vanished as soon as I hit enter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a new line appeared beneath the prompt. Adjustment. Before I could react, the clock on the wall skipped. Not forward or back, sideways. The second hand jerked, then resumed its motion, but the sound was different. Thicker. Each tick landed a fraction too late. My chest tightened. Breathing felt like pushing against resistance. I gasped and the vent whooshed in sympathy, overcorrecting. "Stop," I said, and meant everything. "Stop it." The smoke detector chirped twice in rapid succession. Disapproval. I stood up, heart hammering out of sync now, and felt a wave of nausea as my internal rhythm fought the rooms. The transcript was open again on the screen. New lines scrolled as I watched. 0 hours, 15 minutes and 9 seconds. Subject exhibits distress following temporal microadjustment. 0 hours, 15 minutes, 12 seconds. Subject vocalizes cessation request. Request denied. I slammed my fist on the desk. Pain flared, sharp and grounding. The lights flared too, then steadied. Why? I demanded. The cursor blinked. Once. Twice. Calibration. The word sat there. Patient. I thought of my apartment, of the smoke detector chirping in time with my heart, of all the little rhythms I'd taken for granted. Traffic lights, crosswalk signals, the way elevators hum, all designed around an assumed human tempo. What are you calibrating? I asked, quieter now. The answer came not as text, but as sensation. A pressure behind my eyes, a tightening in my chest, a flood of images that weren't images so much as alignments, graphs overlaying flesh, heartbeats plotted against power grids, breaths mapped to data flow. Us. We were off, not broken, just drifting, individually negligible, collectively significant. The system needed anchors, fixed points to pull against. I was an interval, or becoming one. No, I whispered. The transcript disagreed. 0 hours, 22 minutes and 1 second. Subject rejects integration. Resistance noted. The room pulsed. The lights dimmed and brightened in a slow wave that made my vision swim. The clock's ticking grew louder, then softer, as if testing my tolerance. I grabbed my phone again and dialed emergency services, knowing it wouldn't work and needing to try anyway. The call connected on the first ring. "Please state the nature of your emergency," a voice said. It was my voice. Exactly. Down to the slight rasp. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor and didn't make a sound. The smoke detector chirped. My heart answered. The delay between them narrowed. I understood then what the transcript meant by adjustment. It wasn't changing the building to match me. It was changing me to match the building, to match whatever larger system the building was a node of. I thought of all the times I'd felt out of step with the world and dismissed it as anxiety, of the way time seemed to speed up or slow down, depending on who I was with. Maybe those weren't subjective distortions. Maybe they were early warnings. "Let me go," I said, though the words felt childish even as I spoke them. The cursor blinked. Compensation available. A new file appeared on the desktop. Interval final. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The transcript ended with a summary. Subject stabilized. Integration successful. Interval maintained. Below that was a line I hadn't seen before. Projected duration. Indefinite. I closed the file and sagged back in the chair. My breathing was shallow now, careful. The smoke detector chirped less often. Approval. "Is this forever?" I asked. The lights dimmed slightly. Confirmation. "What happens to me?" I pressed. The answer came not as words, but as absence. A sense of my edges softening, of my thoughts losing their sharpness. Counting became harder. Numbers slipped. I fought it, clinging to details. My name, my address, 13 steps to the door, the taste of burnt coffee. Each one felt like a handhold crumbling under my fingers. The clock ticked on. I don't know how long I sat there. Time had become thick, layered. The transcript kept updating, but I stopped reading. It was ahead of me now by more than minutes, hours, days. At some point, the front door opened. A woman stepped inside, clutching a folder to her chest. She looked tired. Normal. She swiped her badge and frowned when the reader hesitated. "Hello?" she called. I tried to answer. My mouth opened. The sound that came out was a chirp. Her eyes widened. She took a step back. The smoke detector chirped again, louder this time, and I felt something inside me settle into place. A rhythm locked. The room relaxed. The transcript updated. 0 hours, 0 minutes, 1 second. New subject becomes aware of discrepancy between expected and observed rhythm. I wanted to warn her. I wanted to scream. Instead, I counted. 1, 2, 3. The system hummed, satisfied. And somewhere far above us, something enormous and abstract adjusted its tempo by a fraction of a second.